Today's stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Hello and welcome to another meeting of the C++ Digital Signal Processing JUCE study group. I am Leandro and as usual here is Fotis. Hello Fotis.
Hello.
And Cwits, how are you doing?
Hi everybody.
All right, so
It's radical.
So let's get started. Fotis,
Yep.
what have you been up to?
So I have two things for us today. Remember how I was working on a drum kit based on an open source drum kit called the Salamander, but I failed to do that in HISE because I had to simplify the SFZ tables, and that was a massive ton of work. I had to down convert from SFZ2 to SFZ1, which was a pain. So instead, I used a different drum kit. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen. Share screen, share computer sound. So this is the drum kit I used. It's called Acoustic Drums Aircraft Hangar by Larry Sayer. It's free, you can download it on Piano Book. And it's in SFZ version 1, which is a good thing because it's fully compatible with HISE. Now, for those who missed our last meeting, if you want to convert HISE does have an SFZ loader, but I highly recommend you instead use this website, which is called the SFZ to HISE translator/converter, and it gives you conversions to XML format and also some JSON that I haven't found useful yet, but I made them regardless. And the great thing is that once I pasted the file and the content into a new XML file and then loaded HISE, it loaded the map almost completely automatically. So it saved me tons of work. All I have to do is go to my project. Yes. You can tell it's working because it's loading the actual audio files. So you go to the sampler and boom, you have, sorry?
It is loading faster than previous time.
Yeah, I used a different sample kit which uses fewer samples. But yeah, the reason why HISE is loading faster is because it's a newer build, and I'm telling you all about it, but first I'm gonna show you. I don't actually have a concrete plan for this thing because again I'm just experimenting with what I could do for the second version of organic Calskin kit, and I do plan to create a separate XML sample map for that Salamander because I do have plans for that as well. Nothing too concrete, big. But the thing is that I can make a plugin out of Salamander and post it on GitHub because it is open source. If I have to release this thing with Larry Sayer, I will probably have to ask him for permission because I don't see any like Creative Commons or stuff like that. I don't see any licenses. Hold on, let me license. Nope. So yeah, I will probably have to get in touch with Larry Sayer before I do anything with this. Now, the other idea I had was to use Toucan's plugins to create a reverb. And remember how in a previous study group I used a hybrid sample map and I had a little pad that you could crossfade between samplers? I want to do something like that. Now these drum sets are already extremely wet. They have tons of amazing reverb. But I want to remove the reverb artificially using SPLD reverb and their Windows Softgate. And then use Toucan to put the reverb back with a Lexicon Series 2. And also I'll have the untouched drums, and then you will be able to crossfade between those three mic positions, so to speak. But yeah, this is just shooting fish in a barrel because I have no concrete plan for this yet. Again, because my big plan is that a synthesizer I talked about in a previous study group, and I haven't done any kind of progress on that, unfortunately. The only thing I did about this drum kit, remember how I created an actual image of a salamander playing drums for a salamander drum kit?
Yeah, no, but before you talk about that, this kind of processing that you're talking about, do you do it like in a batch, or do you have to manually apply the effects to each sample?
Oh no, I'm gonna do it in a batch on Reaper.
Okay.
It should be relatively easy. I've done it a million times.
Yeah, no, I asked that because I didn't know how it would work. Like when you're removing reverb, probably the sample gets shorter, and it
doesn't have to.
Okay, so
you can just save multiple files in Reaper and just process them without having to. You will have a lots of dead space, but I'm using FLAC as a format, so if I have any dead space, it's not gonna be calculated.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about storage. I was more thinking of like when you're, well, I guess for drums that doesn't apply, but if you're looping a sample, you want it to be cut precisely, or you may want to cut it precisely.
Yeah, you can't do that with acoustic, with instruments like a guitar or something like that. That's because you also have to take into account the attack. But in drums, usually the attack is the same thing for most percussions, except if you have some exotic articulations like cymbal scraping or stuff like that. Then the removal of the reverb may be a bit different. But anyway, I want to show you, to finish this part of my update, I want to show you how it looks like before and after the conversion that I talked about. Where did I put the samples? There you go. So I'm using the general MIDI version, which is the standard one, but I'm tempted to use the EX, which is slightly different. Instead of using the standard general MIDI of putting the kick on note C and the snare on note D and the E, he has used a different mapping of his own, Larry Sayer. But this one is the standard one. And so this is how a regular SFZ file looks like. I'm going to load it in Notepad++. Oh, and by the way, the person who played the actual drums, Larry Sayer recorded them, but the player is called Pat Mastelotto. And he's famous for some prog rock bands, but there is a song that everybody in the world has heard, and he has played the drums on it, and it's the theme song from the TV show Friends. I'll be there for you. But these are not... Exactly, but these are not the drums he used. I can tell because they were very dry. Anyway, so this is the regular SFZ 1.0, and this is how that website I showed you converts them. So it creates a sample map in XML. Oh, you have mic positions. I could take advantage of that. I didn't notice that. But yeah, you can select the root key that you're gonna sample, low
What
and
does it
high.
even mean, mic position semicolon?
Oh no, it means that I haven't used any.
Ah.
Because you can load something. If I guess in the SFZ version 1 you can create mic positions. I don't know. You definitely can with 2.0, but yeah, that's the thing I should take note. And low key and high key is what you saw in the sample map. When the keys, then sample starts at say note C2 and ends at D3, for example. And also you have the low and high velocity, volume, pan, sample start. Oh yeah, you can also trim samples from here. You can type the exact timestamp in samples instead of seconds. And also you can select if you want loop and stuff like that. And it all ends like this. It's a very simple syntax. Now, the JSON, I don't know if I'm gonna need this. Oh wait, it does have some of the extra stuff that you can do with SFZ. So I guess I'll find a way to, I don't know, make use of this. And also it gave me two separate versions. This is the regular one and also the var option, which gives you a variable that's called SFZ2 HISE extended object.
Okay. And the rest of the file is the same.
I guess there is something different. Oh wait, why is this? It found an error.
Well, that's
weird.
because that's not valid JSON. You cannot have var something something equals, and even the semicolon at the end is invalid JSON.
I guess HISE is taking liberties with the JSON format.
Yeah.
But yeah, also I would like to make a small announcement for HISE because David Healy on his Patreon created some excellent scripts, some batch files so that help you build HISE. And I forget where the file is, but anyway, he has created a bat file for Windows and an sh file for Mac OS and Linux. And I'm not gonna show what is inside those files because they are Patreon exclusives, and David wouldn't want me to show the code. But in a nutshell, they automatically download the latest nightly of HISE from GitHub, and then they run those files. They run the compiler, in my case, Visual Studio 2022, and it does everything automatically, so it saves me a lot of time. And it's super clean. It even unzips the files in the SDK folder. So thanks, David, for saving me tons of time. And also I did this. So say goodbye to the salamander because now we have a toucan playing the drums. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be using toucan plugins to process the aircraft drums. Now let's go to JSFX land. I don't know if you saw on Discord, but Reaper just got updated, and they did a slight tweak to JSFX in general. Now, if you have multiple instances of plugins that load images, such as Toucan, it's gonna use less memory. So they did an optimization on that, which is cool. Just something to keep an eye on. And of course, I posted it on Discord and I pinged Toucan. Now, this is what we were doing last time, and I had this homework to do. And I did most of it. So we had to do three things. First, I had to change the arbitrary slider from 0 to 1 to milliseconds. I had a big problem with this one, but the other two I think I did correctly. So I created the drop-down menu to choose yes, no for tempo sync, and I did. And the third was to create a new slider for bit divisions. I'm not sure if I should have done it this way. I took it from 0 to 16. I can do it to 32 and 64, but I put it on divisions of 4. Does it look correct? I guess it looks correct for a basic delay because they do have those bit divisions. Now the problem with the slider. So I typed this MS, okay, but the problem is that once I change this value to something other than 1, suddenly the plugin becomes slower and eventually crashes. And I'm gonna demonstrate this. Let's say 10. And now the changes have been done. Now let's move the slider. Oh, I dragged it to 7 and it crashed. And Reaper crashed. Yes.
Wow, that's bad. It's hard to make
Yeah.
Reaper crash from JSFX. I was only able to do it once, and it was because of a bug in the implementation of JSFX.
Yeah, curiously, this always happened to me when I was fiddling around with Air Windows ports of in JSFX. So maybe that's the reason.
I wonder
But yeah.
what is happening there. JSFX is a sandbox where you are not supposed to be able to crash Reaper itself.
Yeah, but I did it.
You did
Anyway,
it. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I'm the best programmer. So I reverted it. Now, should we take a look at the A value? What is this the reason? Should we take a look at the code again?
Oh, you are interested in learning why it's crashing? Okay.
Yes, please. Because
Let's-
we have to fix this.
Yeah, let's try and figure it out. I think we want to trace where the uses of variable capital A is, or are. The uses are, where they are.
Okay, so capital A.
And it can be hard to search for this because it's a single letter. But let's do our best.
If I search for A space equals, like this one.
Well, you're
Will it
going to
work?
find places where A is assigned, but I bet that it's only assigned
yeah.
there. So we will
there
need to
is-
find the
there's
place
an A.
where A is used.
Yeah, here's one, base speed.
But that seems okay. So that seems benign. It is just a larger value to the power, to the 4th power. That's okay. But then
alright.
base speed may influence other things. So where is base speed used?
Okay, let's look for that. I could have also used Notepad++ to make a case-sensitive search for the capital A, but yeah, I guess this
So
is...
this is gonna make the variable vibe speed,
vibrato, I guess.
vibrato. So vib speed, it's gonna make that variable bigger. And where is vib speed used?
Oopsie. There it is. Oh, and base speed again. So we have speed, just speed, and it's base speed plus vib speed multiplied by sweep.
So far, so good. It's just gonna make the value larger.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay.
where is speed L and speed R used?
Oh, delay L is speed L.
So, given that this is delay and that it's subtracting that way, it gives me the vibe that this is a circular buffer. And perhaps what happens is the speed is so big because the variables became larger that it is trying to find samples beyond the limits of the memory block or the circular buffer where you're keeping your samples. So it could be a case of trying to find stuff out of bounds. So whenever you have an array or a chunk of memory and you try and access out of the bounds of that chunk of memory, you may run into issues. And the issues depend on the language. In a language like C, you may get just a fatal failure. Your program crashes. In JSFX, what was supposed to happen is you are supposed to get a 0. Whenever you're trying to find material outside the bounds, it is supposed to just return 0. Because like I said, JSFX is designed in a way to make it not possible to crash Reaper. So it just gives you a dummy value. But the one time that I was able to crash Reaper from JSFX, if I remember correctly, the bug had to do with out-of-bound access to a variable or to a chunk of memory. And particularly in the way that it was implemented in this particular processor that I have on my machine, that out-of-bound access made the program Reaper itself crash. So maybe you found a bug in Reaper, and maybe it is a bug that is specific to your architecture, your computer. So I don't know. We can try a simple proof of concept to see if that may be the case. How about you create a new JSFX and we try that real quick?
Sure. Let's save this now. How can I make one from scratch?
When you right click, you were probably presented.
In JS.
Yeah, right click there and there isn't an option to create a new one. You can only duplicate. Well, that's whatever. You could duplicate any one of those.
Yeah. I can duplicate filter light and delete everything.
Yeah.
And I'll call it dummy.jsfx dummy. It's duplicating. There you go.
So what I would do is
first let's get rid of these.
Yeah, get rid of everything actually. So Control A to select everything and then delete everything. And let's just have a sample section. You don't even need a description, strictly speaking, but whatever. Start a sample section, so add sample.
Okay, I forget.
And then next line, and then we want to access the big chunk of memory in a place that is invalid. So just say 0, open square brackets, and then
it's square brackets.
Yes, and then like -1000, close square bracket, and semicolon, and that's that actually, because the syntax in JSFX works in the way that when you have the square brackets, whatever is to the left of the square bracket, so in this case 0, is the base address into the big chunk of memory, and whatever is to the right, so in this case -1000, is the index into that base address. So we are trying to find a sample or a value, generally. We are trying to find a value in position -1000 in the big chunk of memory, which is an invalid position. It's out of bounds.
It's out of bounds.
Yeah, and when you save this, Reaper is happy. It doesn't crash, right?
I guess, yeah.
So now let's try and change that -1000 to a very big number. So big that it will be passing the end of the big chunk of memory to the right, so to speak. So now it's no longer a negative value. Change the minus into, not minus, just remove the minus, yes. Yeah, it seems like this is not the case. I think that this is something that would have crashed when I found that bug all that time ago. So I don't know, maybe maybe it still has to do with out of bounds, but you have to trigger it in a different way.
Yeah. This is strange.
It is very strange though. Yeah. I wish we could try and reduce the thing to really see what's going on in a simpler example, but I don't know.
Well, I guess I'm gonna wait until Chris himself learns how to use JSFX. Chris from our Windows. he has been using Reaper in the past few months, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Well, maybe it doesn't hurt. You could post your code on the forum and say like, I tried to reduce the problem, but I'm not really sure.
The Caucus forum?
In the Reaper forum.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
And maybe someone can figure out what's happening and why this is crashing Reaper. Because it's never good when a JSFX can crash Reaper.
And this person, CH Maha, is on the forum. I have spoken to them a couple of times. So I could ask them as well.
Yeah. But okay, coming back to the issue at hand, we wanted to have time set in beats. So let's start by doing the easy thing, which is just the slider manipulation, right? Because we have a time set in this range of 0 to 1, and we have a time set in beat divisions. And we want these sliders to show and hide according to the selection of tempo sync, right?
Yeah, we want to hide this when it's set to off.
So to begin with, I think that the beat divisions should be hidden because tempo sync is off by default, right?
Yes.
So one way to hide the beat division slider is to just put a minus right before the word beat. And when you save that, you see that the slider is now hidden. It still exists, but it's no longer shown. And
now we have to bind it.
Yeah, so what we want next is to go to the add slider section of the code. And we want to check the value of what I think is slider 7, I want to say. The beat division slider, is it 7?
Oh no, it's actually 8 because 7 is tempo sync.
Yeah, so no, what we want is to check slider 7 to see if tempo sync is off or on. And if it is on, then we want the slider 8 to show up. Right? Okay, so let's go to the slider section and write a little bit of code that says if slider 7 is on,
like this.
Yeah, no, the way that we are going to write this is slider 7, so remove the rest of the line, slider 7 question mark.
Oh, okay, like this.
Yes. So if the slider 7 is on, this is how we save this in JSFX. Slider 7 question mark. You can remove the word on. In JSFX, the thing that I'm saying in English is what you wrote in JSFX. So if the slider 7 is on, then we want to change the visibility of slider 8. And I forget how to change the visibility of a slider. I think it's slider chain or slider show. Can you start typing slider and we'll see all the autocompletes? And then like slider underscore.
Oops.
Yeah, slider show. It's the third option in the autocomplete. Great. And then we want the mask, or you can see on the top bar, it's showing you the documentation for a slider show. So mask or slider X, comma, show or hide. So in our case, we're talking about slider 8 and we want to show. So type in slider 8, comma, 1.
Oh, okay, I see that on the top.
And then close parent, semicolon, and let's test this.
Oh, it works! It works.
Cool, huh? But when you turn it off, it doesn't hide.
Yeah, it doesn't go
So
back.
now let's go back to the code and make that hide. So right after the close parens, but before the semicolon, you can put a colon. And that means else. So if the slider 7 is on, we are saying slider show, slider 8, comma 1. Otherwise, we want to say slider show slider 8, 0. In other words, hide that slider.
What does mask mean? It means hide. No.
No, the mask is if you wanted to show multiple sliders at once, you could, instead of calling slider show multiple times, you could call slider show just once, and you could select multiple sliders using a mask. So think of a mask as like a number in binary, and each slider corresponds to a digit, and you could set the mask to like 1, 1, 0, 1, and that would turn on sliders 0, 2, and 3. But yeah, let's not go there. So save this and see if it works.
Boom. Yes, it does.
And I don't know what you want to do to slider 1. Do you want it to always show, or do you want it to be hidden as well? When the tempo sync is on, you hide that?
No, actually you can... Oh no, wait, that's a good point actually. It should be in delay land. You should be hiding the time. You should be disabling it completely when you do tempo sync.
That's actually a design choice. In redelay, for instance, you can set a bit division and a time, and they add up.
Which one?
Redelay.
Redelay. Oh, you can do it.
Yeah, in the stock Reaper delay, you can see that there is a length in time and a length musical, which is a length in 8 notes, and they add up.
Yeah, and also you can do it in parameter sample and hold. You can add both milliseconds and quarter notes.
This can be useful, like if you want to have a separate delay for left and right, and you want them both to be 1/8 note, but you want the delay to sound like it's coming from the left. You can, to the right channel, you can set a delay of 1/8 note, and then a couple.
Yeah, you can slightly delay one.
Yeah.
By the way, this is an excellent little feature. This is not a slider that you can adjust, it's read only, but it shows you the exact kind of sample and hold that you're applying in milliseconds. And it's brilliant, actually. If you type something more than what the slider gives you, like for example 2, it calculates it. Or if I say 16, boom, it works. And you can also have parameter smoothing. So the output is going slower. Anyway, I have shown how this thing works. This is with smoothing, and this is without smoothing. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, that's... what else do we have to do? We've done this.
Do you want to show and hide slider 1, or do you want things to add up?
Let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, now it's your turn. Give it a try. How would you show and hide slider 1 based on slider 7?
Okay, let's do it again. But this time, do I just change those numbers?
I don't know. Give it a try.
Oops, I typed something wrong. Whoa. Not only does it disappear, but it leaves room for the other. Nice. I like, but oh wait, I should have done it the other way around. So there we go. 0 and 1. So boom, there we go.
Cool. Huh?
That's a nice delay.
And it's a bit janky because the sliders are the first slider and the last slider, so it jumps around. You could reorder the sliders.
Yeah.
To make it
I'll do it now.
A bit nicer, but yeah, it's no big deal. It's a cosmetic change, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, we need to first make it functional. So I'll post the code on.
Yeah, and now that we've done this, there's actually a little bit of I wonder if this is an issue at all. It may not even be an issue actually. But what I was gonna say is that if you like close the Reaper project and reopen the Reaper project, it may be the case that that slider that shows and hide. Oh well, you deleted the plugin instance, so what I'm thinking about may not apply. But what I mean is, you know how we started hiding the slider by using the minus sign on the description of the slider, on the label for the slider? I wonder if Reaper is smart enough to show and hide once you close the project and reopen the project with an instance already there. I think,
so I'm gonna have to save it.
Yeah, no, it may not be an issue at all actually, because the slider section is always running and it's setting the visibility. So yeah, forget about it. It should be fine.
Okay.
It's a no, not a concern.
All right.
Yeah. So
yeah, we had a small victory today.
Right. So the next step is we want to go from like 2 8 notes or something like that, or 4-bit divisions. We want to go from that to a number of samples. And yeah, okay, I think that may be a good homework for you to figure out how to go from like 8-bit divisions to a number in samples. And I can speak about some of the steps along the way to help you out. So what you want to do is to use the bit divisions set by the user, the project tempo, which is, I think, available under a variable called like tempo. Yeah,
yes, I have seen it. Yeah,
we saw this last time. And I think that may be all you need actually, because the tempo is given in BPM and the bit divisions.
Shouldn't there will be have to be sample rate involved as well?
Hang on, no. So with these two things, you are right. But with these two things, you should be able to determine the length of time in terms of milliseconds or
because
seconds.
We are using a sample rate here.
Yeah,
it's 44.1 multiplied by 2. So I'm gonna type sample rate as well.
So with the two first variables, you should be able to determine the length of time or the duration in seconds or milliseconds or something. Then, given the sample rate, you should be able to convert that into samples. And that's ultimately what you need. With that information in hand, we'll be able to dive into the code, find where we are tapping into the delay line, and incorporate the result of this calculation.
Nice.
Yeah.
By the way, I think my update is finished, but would you like us to, after we were done, to play a little bit of that game I told you?
Yeah, the modular synthesizer to save the world game. Yeah, let's play it later. I want to see how.
Yes, later. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if everything is going well here, and say hello to people. Not was one is here. Hello, and Tail is here. Hello, hello, and Bilias S. Hello there. Oh, and Bo is away.
On the chat.
Oh, and Nero is also here. Hello. You are the person
Bo
working on
said that he was.
Okay, Nero, if you are interested in joining us, the link to the Skype call is on Discord, and the link to the Discord is in the description, so you are welcome to join the call and talk to us about it. Meanwhile, Cwits, what do you have for us?
Can I be lazy today and not talk too much?
Yes. Do you want to talk a little or not at all?
I have some improvements in my project now. When I'm recording any MIDI things at my tracks, they are recording to the MIDI file, to the actual MIDI file on the hard drive, not like somewhere in the random access memory. And I can't understand why there should be the 0cc message in the end of the each track. Remember, I've posted on the Discord a couple images that a Reaper can't read properly MIDI file, but it works, but it's not working, not showing.
It works, but it's not working.
Yeah, because when you hit the play, everything is working, like all the MIDI notes is there, but when you observe in a general view of the Reaper, there is written offline and nothing showing. That's
today in this stream we break Reaper.
That was weird though, yeah. And problem disappeared when I've added at the end of the MIDI track that 0cc message. I don't know why that's worked that way.
And it's at the end of the file, not the beginning.
Yes, at the end of the file. And that's very weird though for me. But probably that's the way the things work there. Maybe I'm not good enough in the MIDI files right now.
Well, did you look at existing MIDI files, or maybe even a MIDI file saved in Reaper to check what it has in there?
Oh yeah.
Yes, I've looked a lot into those, and sometimes there is a mess, and sometimes there isn't. So yeah, something like that. And for past couple days, I was working on the. You guys know that Push have opportunity to change the scales of the pads and make it chromatic or not chromatic, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like that, there is a bunch of scales. I'm working on something similar, and it seems like works for now, just visually. And I'm a little bit stuck on how make those scales actually impact the MIDI notes. So basically, previously it was like those pads are numbered from 36 to 99, and I was sending those numbers as actual MIDI notes when recording. But now I have to make some system that, for example, when it's not, when the keyboard is not chromatic but in scale, then I don't know even how to explain that.
So first of all, circling back to the MIDI file thing, I don't know too much about the structure of MIDI files, but I have seen in the past that sometimes there are like lots of events in the beginning of the file to reset everything.
The program change.
Yeah, stuff like that. Do you think that this could be that the issue you saw could be related to that, because the files that you were generating didn't have this reset stage?
Sometimes, but it's not so necessary as I understand, because when I was exporting MIDI from Reaper, sometimes there was some reset events, sometimes they're not.
Wait, what settings did you use on Reaper when you were exporting? Did you export to MIDI type format 0 or MIDI format 1?
Basically, I've tried everything, all the formats, but
Okay.
the best was working for me, the MIDI format 0. Differences between those formats is that format 0 is just single MIDI track per file, and when the format is 1, then there could be multiple MIDI tracks in one file.
Multiple instruments.
Yes, basically.
Yeah,
There
that's
is a
right,
way
sir,
to-
because I was about to ask that.
And sometimes Reaper was exporting some those clearing events, even if I had only one MIDI track in the Reaper, and I didn't figure out how it is called, dependencies about those things. But for now, I'm working just with one-track MIDI files. I will be maybe someday, because multiple track files are more complicated things. I don't want to dig into that deeply right now.
Okay. Well,
By the way, I think there is a way to add multiple instruments to a MIDI format 0. Right? It's a different encoding, but it works.
I don't know.
It's an ancient technology, basically the MIDI format 0. And maybe that's interesting because Ableton, generally Ableton prefers MIDI format type 1. It has trouble with MIDI format 0. And Push is made by Ableton, so I don't know.
But Push have nothing to do with this one.
Also, I have found that in some MIDI files there were also embedded CSEX data, which is another ancient stuff, but they could do crazy things with the modulations in the MIDI format. But I doubt you were generating those files from scratch, right? Like you typed some MIDI notes in Reaper and just hit export. We can hear you.
Cwits.
Oh, maybe he lost.
Yeah, we lost him.
He's gone.
Oh no.
Oopsie.
Okay.
Maybe he had connection problems.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Do you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Sorry, I've just run Ableton and I forget that there is ACFRL driver.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Me too.
And everything was like, yeah. So yeah, maybe next time I will show you guys those scales and then.
Yeah. So what you're doing is now you are mapping from the MIDI note events you get from the Ableton Push into some scale. So you have not just a one-to-one correspondence between the events that come from the Push and the things that you record or that you send, but you have a mapping with scales.
Yes, exactly.
And do you use existing scales files? Because I know that there are some around, even for Reaper. Or are you painstakingly recreating all the scales yourself?
What is scale files?
Oh, it's just some simple files with numbers, like saying if you are in C major, then these are the notes, the MIDI notes in the scale.
Oh, no, I'm just using the vectors to describe all the scales I want.
Okay.
I can briefly show you guys if you want. Like somehow like this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. You have everything.
Not everything, but some.
Oh yeah, the Byzantine is not there.
Ableton have, I don't know, maybe twice or 3 times more scales than this one.
And you can download some more presets. But anyway.
It have to be longer, like till here somewhere.
You could check out the source code from Bespoke Synth because you can select the scales and they have tons of presets.
Oh.
So maybe you could borrow some of that code.
Yeah, maybe. Why not? If they
and also the sweet thing about Bespoke Synth is that it has an option to lock the entire project you're writing into a specific scale. It's like the Ableton scale device that you have in the MIDI effects section of Ableton, but it's doing it for all the MIDI files in one project, if you want, that is.
But to be honest, I have some doubts about this scale system, not only in my project, but in general, because as much as I've played, I've never used these scales actually.
Yeah, I mean, I rarely use them.
Because you have scale in some key and you can't modulate the chords. Okay, you can play the chords that are in that key, yeah, but you can't do any more fancier stuff that keyboard is damn English.
Yeah, I see what you mean. When you're locked into a specific scale, you cannot do fancy, complicated chords, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm basically was playing the chromatic one. And
yeah, the chromatic is the best.
I have a question. The major scale is 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. And I suppose that these are semitones. So
yes.
Root note, the skip one, and then note number 3 is 1 tone away from the root, and that's all right. But shouldn't the last one be 11 instead of 12?
If we take C major, then 11 would be
B,
which is part of the major scale. So
not the B. How they are called? Like it will be A sharp.
Really? A sharp is 11?
Yes, because we have 12 tones. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And the 13th will be the C.
It will be the C, yeah.
The next octave C.
Okay.
Just think of them as the white keys on the keyboard.
Okay. No, right. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, you have some good stuff there. I like that.
Yeah. And so you'll be using the push function that shows the scales on the buttons and the LEDs.
Here. Of course.
Awesome.
It is already showing the scales in the chromatic mode, and it looks very, very interesting.
Oh, nice.
And I do think that there is an argument for this. If you are doing jazzy stuff, you may want to use chromatic, but if you don't know your way around a scale, and I like this, where you cannot press a wrong note.
And yeah, the more interesting thing is that you can keep one scale, but you can change the root, the key that is. So you can have a song that switches from A minor to G minor, and then back to A minor. You can do chord progressions and stuff while having a scale.
Yeah.
Yes, but sometimes you as a musician want to be able easily change the scales. For example, for the one chord you will be using one scale, for the different chord you will be using different scale, and so on. But for example, playing Ableton Push, it's not so easy. You have to make at least 2 button presses and fastly rotate encoders to get to the corresponding scale and
I can imagine, because it's the same exact workflow on the scale device in Ableton Live.
Yeah, probably. And this all takes some time, and when, for example, you're performing live, you don't have the time to do things like that. And that's
What if you implemented a way to sequence scales where you would change the scales underneath the pads according to where you are in the song?
Yeah, you're gonna reinvent the wheel.
A really good idea.
Yeah, do it, please.
Yeah, I know that people do something like that for like guitar effects, where they have all the guitar effects already sequenced and the band is playing to a click, so they don't have to keep doing the whole dance with the pedals.
Oh, he's switched. Okay.
No, not sure so much about guitar pedals, sorry.
No, I'm just saying that people who play the guitar, they sometimes sequence the effects ahead of time, and the band is playing to a click, so when they get to a certain part of the song, instead of having to step on 5 pedals to change effects, the effect change is automatic. So it's
they do automation.
I'm talking about, but for scales.
I was thinking about that couple months ago, to be honest. And I think it will be nice option to have.
Oh, by the way, I remember that on GitHub there is, if you're interested, there is a nice pack of MIDI chords, not scales but chords, but it also has some progressions and stuff. And you know that if you place a chord and then you add an arpeggiator effect or something, it eventually becomes a scale run. You have tried that, right? Like you can turn a chord into an arpeggio, and it's tethered to a scale which is defined by the notes of the chord. And I'm gonna post the GitHub link to our chat.
Yes, please.
You're gonna love it. It's very good.
Also, it's a useful resource for investigating MIDI files.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those MIDI files I think they are MIDI format 1, not 0. So, but you can convert them with Reaper. Like you can load the file and then resave it as MIDI format 0. And you're not gonna miss any important information because it's one channel.
Okay, guys, thank you. To be honest, I have couple killer features in mind that I haven't seen in other controllers, but I won't speak about that because everybody can steal that.
Cwits has an evil plan. Anyway,
no,
that's it.
I didn't see features like, for example, we were speaking about scale changes. I didn't see this in any other places.
Interesting. It is, I guess, possible to do this with Reaper because you can switch effects as your song progresses. You can automate on and off effects. And one of these, or multiple of these effects, could be re-MIDI control or recontrol MIDI, which is a slot effect that is able to quantize MIDI events through scales.
Well, you know what the meme says, Reaper can do anything. Or Reaper can do that already.
But Reaper doesn't have controller with 64 pads.
True, yeah, you would need to just send events from the pads to Reaper, and then Reaper will quantize to a scale, but you don't get any sort of, or not easily anyway, any sort of feedback in the controller, so you will not see lights changing in the controller.
Oh, I think it is possible. Have you tried Real Learn? It's JSFX, I think, or Lua, but I found it from Repack, and I think it can work with LEDs. If you can look it up. I think that now Reaper can work with LEDs in pads.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world because the LEDs are typically controlled by MIDI. So you send a MIDI event from Reaper to the controller, and the lights will be controlled that way.
But basically, it is actual, all those things I'm thinking about is actual only for Ableton Push, because all other controllers either or don't have that much pads, or they are keyboards and they don't need any scale stuff. Back in the days, I was trying to make my own MIDI keyboard, and I made it. Yeah, maybe I told on the something. I don't remember.
Oh, I forgot one more GitHub repository. Because it's not a study group meeting if I don't share a million GitHub links with you guys.
Yes, if Reaper can do anything, Fotis can find anything on GitHub.
So there is a pack of stuff. It's also available on Repack, but you can do it individually if you want it. It's called Reableton. I think we have actually talked about this in a previous meeting. I have spoken to the guy who does it, and we have worked on something. I think there is a contribution from me in this repository. So what this thing is doing has some extra functions that makes Reaper behave a little bit more like Ableton. It's not a complete total conversion, and of course there are those skins that make Reaper look like Ableton. But even if I don't like them very much because I'm used to that skin, but those scripts that this person has made are very cool.
Because everybody loves Reaper. My previous boss didn't love Reaper, by the way.
Oh, okay. By the way, are you using Ableton Link? Does Push use Ableton Link, that thing?
Not by its own. Ableton.
Oh, okay.
It's Ableton Link. As I know, Machine as well using Ableton Link.
Because did you know that Ableton Link is actually open source?
Yes, of course. Maybe someday I will implement it as well in my project. But
does it mean that you can also essentially control Push from your own phone?
I don't know.
I saw something. Somebody used Ableton Link to control Ableton with their phone. But imagine if you could use Push from the comfort of your couch with the phone. So you have a ghost controlling Push.
I'm not sure that there was Ableton Link somehow involved, because as much as I know, Ableton Link is only about synchronizing instances of Ableton and Machine while playing.
Yeah, and also Bitwig uses Ableton Link. That's so ironic. That's incredibly ironic. It's like they're rubbing it on their faces, but they made it open source, so jokes on them, I guess. But yeah, you can check out this video where you can use an iOS device with Ableton over a local weapon. Network, sorry. I said weapon. I meant network. But yeah, this interface is nice. Imagine if you could have essentially a virtual Push on your phone, and you have all the buttons and they you choose the LEDs on your phone and they light up on the hardware. That would be fun stuff. But that's another project, I guess.
Back in the days, I with my friend was experimenting with controlling DOS with iPads, tablets, phones, and whatever stuff is around us. And there was a couple applications where you can make all the controls you want. One of them was Touch OSC.
Mm-hmm.
As if I remember correctly, it was kind of simpler thing where you can make. And second one was Lemur, but the second one was really crazy.
Yeah, I think I have Lemur. Is it a language?
Yeah. You can program there as well, whatever you want. And those ones was pretty interesting, by the way. Like you can set up there everything you want, then assign to all the controls in the Reaper, and yeah, very fancy.
Yeah, I was playing around with one of those. I don't remember which, and it was a lot of fun. Right. So, do you want to try and write some C++ together?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
We're
gonna solve Euler.
Something here on the chat that I think applies to. Isn't this great? Now there is a little icon here that covers the text. I love it. Anyway, for what it's worth, B could be 11 if C could be 0 instead of 1, right? And we are talking about your code here, Fotis. But I'm not sure what Dale means by this.
Let me check.
Yeah, go check your code and see if it makes sense. Because we were not talking about variables B and C, if I remember correctly. We were talking about variables A and then slider 7 and H.
Yeah, we didn't use any.
Well, anyway, I will get into some C++ mode here. And
let's do it.
This time we are going to work on problem H from Project Euler, and we'll see if I will finally have to resort to something other than brute force. Because so far I have been able to get along with just writing silly code, so to speak. But let's see what comes up this time. For those who don't know, recently we started this series of problems in Project Euler, and we started implementing them in C++. And now it's time for problem number 8, largest product in a series.
We can see your screen.
Oh, yeah, I always forget. Now you can.
Yep.
The 4 adjacent digits in the 1000 digit number that have the greatest product rate are this. Okay, so there is this 1000 digits, and I'm looking for the 4 adjacent digits that have the greatest product.
Oh, by the way, I can play the role of Bo using GPT, but instead of using ChatGPT, I'm gonna use a free open source alternative, which I found on GitHub, and it's called H2O GPT, and it's using 6 different free GPT models at the same time. So if I ask them to solve me Project Euler number 8, it's gonna give me 6 different solutions.
Cool.
They're probably all gonna be the same with slightly different syntax.
Maybe, we'll see. Okay,
so
that's
it's Leandro versus 6 robots.
It's me versus 6 robots. Oh no. Yeah. Okay, so Find the 13 adjacent digits in this big number that have the greatest product. What is the value of this product? All right, so that's going to be interesting because we haven't worked with this kind of data before. And I think that the way I'm going to go about this is I'm going to start by copying and pasting this into Visual Studio Code, and I want to define well, a data structure, but I'm not sure what the data structure will be. And the data structure will hold all these numbers, preferably like an array, I want to say. So I'm going to do something silly, but real quick. There. And then, no, that's not the right syntax. It's this. There. And now I should be able to have like a int. I'll call this the numbers, and it's actually an array. So I feel like I'm using C syntax for this, and I wonder if there is something better that I should be doing. Also, it doesn't seem to be happy with the syntax I wrote. Brackets are not allowed here. To declare an array, place the brackets after the name. Can I get a quick fix? Okay. And then we have our list of numbers. Also, I think that we need to know the size of this list. I wonder if there is a better C++ data structure that I could be using here, because this is too much.
Vector?
Yes, thanks. Help me out. How do I define a vector in C++?
Include vector the same way as IO stream. Then write std double semicolon vector and int there inside the name, and then you can do equal and braces and the same stuff. Yeah, that's all.
By the way, Tail was talking about Cwits scales, not my code. That's the C.
Yeah. Okay. I was misunderstanding. That's silly. Okay, and now it's not happy about the way that I'm initializing. There are no quick fixes. So I guess the problem is on the right-hand side. I'm defining this in a C way, and I should be using some constructor for vectors. Am I right?
Oh, not sure, because I was defining vectors like this, and everything was working.
So let's read. The
Like
non-aggregate type,
in my
blah, 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 cannot initialize with an initializer list. Oh, should it be this? I'm Googling this now. Seems like this is documentation for people who know what they're doing. Interesting. It seems like that's what we did. But it didn't like it when we did it. Does it like when we copy and paste?
Try to write.
It doesn't like it either. Oh, no, it likes it. No, it does not.
Try to declare it as a constant, maybe.
Where does the const keyword go?
At the beginning, yes.
No. Is it complaining because I'm outside the function definition? No. Is it complaining without justification? Does this code work anyway? No, it's not complaining without justification. It cannot be initialized with an initializer list. Well, maybe these docs are wrong,
Co-
but I
copy
trust
the
this
error
reference,
to the
so
Google.
that is weird.
Copy the error to the Google.
Oh, could I be using the wrong version of C++? That could be that, right? I am just calling clang++, but I'm not specifying which version of C++ I want to use. So that could be that. Let's see. I will do what you said. Not only we are getting something relevant, but it's also even the same type with the same generic. Great. And yes, the problem is the version of C++. Now, so this works, but of course, Visual Studio Code is not aware that I'm using a different version of C++. So it will still complain here, but we don't need to trust it here. Okay, moving on. And I will at some point learn how to tell Visual Studio Code that I'm using a particular version of C++ with this file, but that's not today. That's not right now. So now I need to know how many numbers I have. And I am pretty sure that there will be some kind of method I can use, like size or something. No. And we are using C++11 size. Oh, cool. So I can just say numbers.size. Great. And I will have a number index, and it will go from 0, indexing into this number, all the way up to, I am solving first this problem here. So I'm looking for 4 adjacent numbers, so I need to go all the way up to the size minus 4. Yeah, that seems about right. And then I will need to set the product, so product. And you may be wondering why I'm initializing the product with the number 1. Well, that is about to become apparent, because I will do another loop. And I guess I will call this the base index. Like that. And I will call this the index. And I will let this go to, and now I see the magic number 4 here repeated in 2 places, so I'll have a variable for this, and I will call this the number of operands 4. Or I'll do it differently. I'll call this the numbers offset. And it will start at 0, and it will go to the number of operands, like that. And then I will product times equal, and now it may become apparent why I used the number 1 here, because 1 is the, what is it called? I think it's called the 0 of the multiplication group. Anyway, yeah, you multiply things by 1 and they don't change, so that's why I'm using 1 there. If I used 0, then I would zero out anything that I multiplied here. So times equals numbers. And do I index into a vector using square brackets? That would stand to reason.
You can, but you can as well use .add.
Because then it does bounce checking?
Yes.
Cool. So this way I will not run into the errors that I was afraid of in JSFX. Perfect. Let's review this. I am happy about what I see here, and then I compute the product, and then I need to find the largest product, which will start at 0, and there are no negative numbers here, so I can start at 0, otherwise I would need to worry about like minus infinity and stuff. But the largest product starts at 0, and here at this point I have computed the product. So if the product is larger than the largest product, then the largest product becomes the product. And at this point, out of the loop, I should be able to print the largest product, like so. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the answer is this. And this .8 and blah, blah, blah is just because I am timing the execution of my program. And the answer is 5832. Does that match? Yes, 5832. So now to answer the real problem, I have to find 13 adjacent digits. So 13. And in terms of execution time, it is negligible, so I don't have to worry about timing the program. But I claim that this is the right answer. I'll open the same tab in Safari where I'm signed in. And was this the answer? No, it was not. So we got it wrong. Interesting. Why would that be? Why did I get it right for 4 and not for 13? Well, I can see that there are a bunch of zeros at the end, while we don't have those zeros at the end. So we are not multiplying enough numbers. Maybe these indices are off. I will check something real quick. I will print this size because I don't know the vector data structure all that well, so I wonder if there is something sneaky about the way that the size works. So it claims that the size is that there is 1,000 digits, and yes, there is 1,000 digits, so that's not the issue. Am I missing something at the end here? No. I don't see any mistakes. Let's consult the chat to see if people have an opinion. No. And Fotis, do you have the answers from the robots?
Yes and no. I actually have 4 out of 6 robots. 2 of them are crashing. Yes, the problem with H2O GPT is it's not very stable. But I can show you the 4 out of the 6 answers if you're interested.
Yeah,
So
let's take a peek at
screen.
what the robots did. Maybe we'll see what's wrong with the human answer.
So it's the first and the 6th robots are the ones that are crashing, but
They are still going.
Yeah, now they're going. Yeah, they crashed. They have to, but they have gone longer than before, so I have to click redo many times. But until they do, let's check out.
Is this running locally on your machine, or is it?
I think it's local. Yeah, it's on the browser, but I think the things are kept on the cache and not on their server.
Cool.
Anyway, so here are the 4 solutions. This is the first one from the second robot. It's using the Fibonacci sequence. And
what? No, this is already very off. Because the problem doesn't have to do with Fibonacci at all.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
How about this one?
About a series of numbers. Here's a solution to problem 8. That is using a vector called capital A, but I don't see that vector anywhere, and it's sorting stuff.
Should I just use ChatGPT?
No, this is also very off. That one maybe
This program. Oh, there is description. This program first reads in the values of n, m, and k from the user. The vector A.
This is very off. It doesn't even know what the problem is, let alone a solution. This one stands a chance. This code uses a vector to store the input numbers and then sorts them. No, why would they sort the number?
And how about this one?
I don't know. Let's scroll up so we can see the code.
Yeah. Find the first positive integer. Is this the one?
No.
So
no,
none of the robots know.
They don't even know what the question is.
Okay, I'm gonna use regular ChatGPT like a normal person. I'm sorry, I failed you. The robots failed us.
Well, I am happy that the robots are struggling as well. Meanwhile, I'll stare at this for a bit longer. Is there any limit to the size of vectors that could make this not work?
Shouldn't be.
I agree, there shouldn't be. In fact, that's how many people store data in their programs. Like, there are even ways of converting like images into this kind of representation. So there shouldn't be a problem.
ChatGPT is suggesting to store in the vector audio data.
Yeah. So, and even coefficients for filters and whatnot. So that should not be a problem. Then let's confirm again that when we are doing 4 digits, it gives us the right answer. Just confirming my assumptions. Yeah, 5832. That's correct. Am I misunderstanding the problem? The 4 adjacent digits in the... Oh, and you all at Skype. Okay, yeah, you don't see my screen.
Oh, that's what Robot 6 was solving, but it would always get stuck in here because of connection problems. So Robot 6 was the one closest to the answer.
Maybe because you said hello to ChatGPT?
No, I did say hello to the robots as well, the other 6 ones. I typed exactly the same things.
You're so nice.
It's interesting that it's using a string representation instead of a vector. I wonder why.
And then it's using this.
Okay, so let's take a read. Oh, the maximum product is a long. Is the problem that an int is not capable of storing the answer?
Yeah, it could be.
If that is that, then...
So try to use long. Or uint64 /.
That would be a lesson in the whole conversation we had about the other day about number types. So it's getting the right answer for 4 and then 13. Ha!
You found it?
It was the case.
So my algorithm was correct, and I'm spoiled by JavaScript not having to think about these things. Okay, so this makes sense to be an int, and now we learned that the project may overflow an int, and I didn't get any errors or warnings. Great. And then this is just an index, so it makes sense for this to be an int. The product needs to be a long. This can be an int. Okay, the robot saved the day. That was the problem. But I'm happy that the human also got an algorithm that works. Let's evaluate what you have there. So overall, it is...
But why the string?
Why the string? You are right.
Maybe include string.
Maybe ChatGPT just got wrong about it.
Can you scroll down? I want to see the rest of the code. Thank you. So it is doing the same loop that I did for the base address. It's calling the base address I. And then it's doing the same loop for... It's not doing an offset. It is doing the thing that I was doing the first time, where I'm just computing the index right away, but that's all right. And then it's multiplying. Oh, and the way that it converts is it indexes into the string, and then it says minus string 0 as a way of converting from string to integer. That is bananas to me. It is something that you find in JSFX a lot, where people want to convert something to an integer and they say bitwise or 0. It's just, no. It's not very expressive.
ASCII characters the best.
Yeah, no, please don't. I'm sure there is another C++ way of converting from string to integer that is more expressive, that it's not just a hack of subtracting a character and relying on implicit type conversion. But anyway, it's multiplying, then it's doing the check with the if. So yeah, it is exactly the same algorithm as what I came up with.
Sweet.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Today we learned that defaulting to int everywhere is not always the best idea.
And also this max product, I didn't show that.
Yeah, no, that's how I didn't write the whole sentence, but yeah, I the largest product here. So overall, in terms of algorithm, I would say that it's a tie in terms of knowing which numeric types to use. ChatGPT wins, and the open source LLMs, they are way off.
Way off, except for one, but it wasn't strong enough.
Yeah. All right, Fotis, coming back to your game, can you
I'm
give us
gonna
like
burn
the
through
simplest stage so that we can...
Yeah, I'm gonna burn through the first levels real quick because they were tutorial stages. They're tutorial stages, and I'm not gonna bother with the story. You have some dialogues that you talk with the NPCs here. So Miriam and this other guy are helping you to create, to fix that technology in a barn. Remember, this is a dystopian future, and the equipment is broken, and it's up to you to fix the equipment in order to save the world. So let's see how this works. First off, sorry, you have to skip this tutorial section. This is the simplest one. It's the split. You connect. This is how all the puzzles work. You have the source and you have the outputs. And what you have to do is create some modules to transform the values from the sources to the outputs. And you have this visualizer, which shows both the sources and the outputs. The blue is what you're supposed to get, the solution, basically. And the source is what you're getting. And you have this speed. I always max it out because it's boring. And so this is the simplest one. It's called split. You take the value from source. And also, if you hover, you can see the current value and the cable length. The cable length is not important. It's only if if you want to make high scores, you have leaderboards and you have to make the shortest cables. But let's do it. So we are splitting the source into two.
Is the source and output diagram below squashed? Because I don't see any difference. It seems like it's just a flat line throughout.
It is a flat line until we press play. So it is a flat line because you're essentially outputting the same values. You're just duplicating them.
Okay.
So we are outputting 37 and we are getting 37, just doubled. But then things go, and also you make music. Woohoo! And here you can see leaderboards from all around the world. You can see how many people have used the shortest cables or they were the fastest.
Yeah, cool.
So there is a competitive aspect to this game.
How are you doing on the leaderboards, Fotis?
Not very well. Because the thing is that I need to learn. This is the problem, especially with some very hard modules. And this is why I haven't finished the game. Sometimes I had to look at the walkthroughs. And I still didn't understand the logic behind it all. So this is where you guys come in. But first, let's burn through the first 4 levels, and then we're going to play a difficult one, and then we can call it a day for today. So this is a power generator. You send the source 1 to the output 1, but with the signal intensity tripled.
Yeah, now I like it. The diagram below, we can clearly see that the output is the source, but with higher amplitude. So we want to multiply the signal. So
the sum is the opposite of split. You take the outputs and you sum them together.
So the way that we are multiplying is by routing the same signal 3 times. Cool.
And it's fun how you can see stuff. Anyway. Sorry about the sound. It's counting the bonus.
Is this based on VCV rack? It has a VCV rack taste to it.
Yeah, they were influenced a lot by it, and they even say so on the description of the game in Steam. So this teaches you a lot about how modular synths work, but it's surprisingly not about the music, but about the technology, about the math that goes into it. Of course, later, in a few months after they released the game, they included a patch that gives you a sandbox mode, and you can use it like VCV Rack. It gives you all the modules, and you can make music. Ben Jordan has made a stream where he made music with this one. Now, here is the module menu, which is also very similar to VCV Rack. So you can drag modules, and if you want a module that you don't need, you just drop it. And now also you can use the keyboard. Just go here and type 10, boom. Or you can also use the scroll wheel. And you can change between the I/O panel, blah, blah, blah. We talked about this. The signals are always limited to a range of -100 to 100. Anyway, let's solve this on our own. So output 1 receives sources 1's signal increased by 5 volts. But output
the new module that we are working with, this bias module, it is, well, what we need, right? The input plus
we need
the value in the knob.
So this one, let's split it first, and we're gonna solve both of these problems, each with a different signal. So we are splitting the source in 2. Now the bias is adding 5 volts. And let's check out this one first. So we solved the output 1, but the output 2, it's gonna use the attenuator. So we're gonna use
so instead of
50%.
adding, we are multiplying.
Yes.
But you want the
we are
intensity
subtracting.
half, so I think it should be minus 50%, not 50%. Am I right?
Let's try it. Nope, because it's attenuating. If you're using minus, you're actually duplicating.
You are inverting the polarity. Now I get it. It's like multiplying by minus half, and now you're multiplying by half. Okay, gotcha.
And we solved it. By the way, I told you that I have turned off the soundtrack because it's probably copyrighted. And it's a shame because those musical notes that you hear when you solve a puzzle is at the same scale as the song that is playing for each stage.
That's huge. And we can check this because probably soundtracks from video games are fair game on YouTube. But we should check it anyway. I appreciate that you have this concern.
Yeah, and I think it's better if we have it muted because the music can get a bit distracting. It's very calm and soothing, but listening to the same thing 100 times when you're solving a puzzle can be nerve-wracking. Anyway, we saw that.
So now we have two sources, and we have to add them and subtract them. So we already know how to use the sum module. So one thing we could do is use the sum module for output 1, and for output 2, we could use the attenuator at minus 100% to invert the polarity.
Also, we have two new things. The notepad where you can type everything you need. Group rules.
Yeah.
Or you can use an oscilloscope that you can use for debugging.
Oh,
We're gonna
I love
need this later.
oscilloscopes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna need this later on. So first we're gonna use a sum. Output 1. Oh, first we have to split it because we have to solve two outputs. So let's split. Let's use two splitters. One for 1 and one for 2. So the first is summing 1 and 2.
Yeah, you got an input.
I used the output. Okay, the first one seems to be correct.
Cool.
The second one, we have to use attenuator. So to subtract, we have to use another sum. And on the first one, we're going to use the output of source 1.
And we invert
second.
source 2.
And let's see if we got it right. Yes, we did. Woohoo.
It's funny how we are doing simple arithmetic and we already need like, what must be like $400 worth of modules.
We're gonna solve a couple of more, okay?
It's funny how every time it's loading, it says that it's not even responding. Like the loading is really strong on that one.
No, I think that's my fault, my computer's fault anyway. Oh, we did this one already, sorry.
Have you already finished the game yourself?
No, I'm stuck on a level.
Ha! How much?
Wait,
how far into the game are you stuck?
I think I'm in 2/3.
Okay.
Or maybe 3/4, but still, and some of those are optional. You don't have to solve them. But if we're gonna get really good, we're gonna solve this like it's no one's business.
I am a completionist. I will do every side quest available.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, we solved this. Now let's go to VCA. This is where things get fun. So in this one, we're gonna check out the voltage-controlled amplifier. And we have a notepad ready. You also have this lock that prevents modules from being moved. Anyway, at each time step, output 1 receives a specified percentage of source 1's signal. The percentage value is specified by source 2.
Okay, so we want to wire source 1 as input, source 2 as CV.
Mm-hmm. And you would do this.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom.
Easy peasy. That's just them teaching what VCA is.
The visualizations are brilliant, though.
And also, in terms of arithmetic, what we're doing is multiplying the signals.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot, actually. I didn't really realize it.
Yeah, previously we multiplied by a constant with the attenuator module. We multiplied by a constant. The knob set the constant. The percentage was the constant. Now we are multiplying by a variable. We are multiplying by a signal.
Oh, okay. See, this is why I needed your help. I needed you to explain the maths behind it.
So far we have used like $500 to do plus, minus, and multiplication.
Sweet. This is how boutique module companies make their money.
But that analog sweetness, man, there's nothing like it.
That analog warmth.
Okay, so there will be a breakpoint thing. What's that about?
This is if you are stuck and there is a mistake, you can check a breakpoint, and then when you press play, it stops at that breakpoint, and you can debug what's happening. It's just there to help you out.
Okay, so send source 1 to out 1, but with its intensity boosted by 50%. So we have, do we have the attenuator module? Yeah, we just used the attenuator module at 50%. I wonder why they're doing this again. No, not minus 50, plus 50%.
Oh, but we are boosting.
Oh, we want to boost.
Yes. Oh, wait, we also have to split.
I would say that we need to have a summation module, not the attenuator. Well, also the attenuator.
Oh, so we can solve it. Some of the puzzles can be solved in many different ways, actually.
But the way I understand the attenuator, it's like multiplication by a constant. So you're multiplying by minus half. That's not what we want to do. We want to multiply by half and use a summation module to sum the original signal with the signal attenuated by 50%. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. So if we split it and do it like this.
That's not going to do it because this is multiplied by 2 and we want to multiply by 1.5.
Oh. So we can use the bias as well.
No, the bias is adding a constant. We want the attenuator, multiplying by a constant.
How about 25? Oh, no.
It should be a 50%. And then the first output of the split goes into the input of the attenuator. And the second output of the split goes into the summation. Yes, exactly what you did. That. I think that solves output 1.
It does.
Cool. And then we send source 1 to output 2, but with intensity boosted by a percentage specified by... Okay, so that's just the VCA thing again.
Yeah.
It's kind of repeating itself. Fair enough.
It's just so you get the hang of it. Oh, no.
I feel like it's building up to something.
Yeah, it does. Trust me. It's going to get a real head scratcher later. I did something wrong. There we go.
You have to have another sum.
Oh, yeah.
The same on the first signal, but with the VCA
boosted.
No? Like after VCA, there should be some of the source 2 and the VCA output.
Oh, no, I know what it is. So keep the cables you have because they're right. But what they're saying is that you want to boost the intensity. So we want to take the signal out of the VCA add it to the original, and then send that to output 2.
Yeah, to this.
So we need another summation module, and we want to wire source 1 and the output of the VCA and wire that to the output. That's that.
Solved. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, angelic sound of digital release. So this is it for today. We stopped at barn lights as a reminder. And from next point, things are gonna get juicier and more head scratching.
That's great because we are a JUCE study group. So
Yes,
yeah, I like this game a lot. I want to keep playing it.
Yes, we will. Next up, we're gonna do firmware programming. And then pararegulator logic tests. The logic is where things get very complicated. We'll have to build logic XOR gates just with modules. It's gonna be crazy. But once we do that, we will be able to apply the same logic on VCV, cardinal, voltage modular, and the like.
You know what's cool about the XOR port or logic gate is that it's the universal gate. It's not the only that does this. Oh, it's not XOR. What am I talking about? It's NAND. Forget about it.
It's NAND, yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, let's see if people have any last thoughts before we wrap this up. Okay, so we have a conversation going on here about the MIDI thing that we were talking about, and I am seeing vector blah, blah, via Google. I'm not sure if that would work in older C++. So yeah, the problem was the version of C++, and we learned that. I guess as humans like to count things starting at 1, and that has to do with the way that I was thinking about scales as well when I saw Cwits code. I was starting counting at 0. That's why I thought that the 12 was wrong. All right, so with that, let's wrap up. Thank you, Tail and Not Was One and Bilias and Bo and Nero for joining us on the chat.
Bilias is a friend of mine.
Oh,
I invited him.
cool. Yeah, bring your friends. And thank you, Fotis and Cwits, for joining me on the meeting. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
All righty. Let's go to the thanks for watching screen. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the stream, you know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And soon we'll all be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.